Hello, people. It's your boy Spam back again with another Round the Fan podcast. As always, talking about all the latest news surrounding the Barclays Premier League. Yes, you heard me correctly. The Barclays Premier League will be coming back, I believe, in 2024. So, very much happy to be calling it that again. But nevertheless, we will be delving into all the latest speculation, rumors, and news from this weekend's results. Of course, the Man United circus is in full effect. Every single player wants their own bit of peace, just their own opportunity to drag the club as much as they possibly can. So we'll be dissecting that. As I said, on my match reaction, Amazon are absolutely fuming that they didn't get Man United over Arsenal because they've lost out on a lot of views. But we will be getting to that a bit later on in the show when Kojo comes back. He's just busy at the moment. I believe Kish is just about to join us right now in the studio. But I have got one of the three in midfield homies. We've got Cahil in the building. Cahil, how do you, my guy?
All good, man. No points gained, no points dropped. We got game in hand, so I'm looking forward to that game in hand, especially with a full strength team. But it is what it is, man.
Yeah, I mean, for you, and well, we'll get into it very shortly. But before we get into that, of course, there's a lot to discuss, and the home is here. West Ham lose, and he appears. Kish is in the building. Kish, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. It's always good to turn up on a nice little weekend. West Ham losing all of that good stuff to Big Leeds United. Do you know what I mean? Just round the corner from us man, around that Yorkshire end.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. Local and
Nice
that,
and
local.
crispy, just how we like it. So yeah, I can't wait to dig into that part of the show today.
Absolutely. There's a lot to discuss, as I mentioned. Of course, we're going to wait for Kojo until we dissect the Man United news. I know a lot of people probably want to hear about that because it's a major story at the moment. But we're going to start with another story. To be honest, for me personally, I'm a bit disappointed, to be quite frankly honest with you, because as a football fan, I want to see games be played. That is the priority as a football fan. I understand certain circumstances affect that, and obviously we will discuss that in a bit more detail. But I just want to get your guys' opinions on the North London derby being cancelled. Me, as a football fan, I was absolutely gutted because I wanted to watch the match, to be quite honest with you. Nothing to do with the obviously benefiting Arsenal or Spurs, because I need both of you lot to drop points realistically. What were your guys' thoughts? Obviously, as always, just jump in wherever you think. Kel, we'll come to you first, anyways, because Arsenal seemed to be the one getting the brunt of the criticism. What did you make of the whole situation?
Look, first and foremost, I agree. I think the game should have gone on. You had one COVID case reported at that point, and that was, I believe, Martin Odegaard. Yes, I understand that we have a whole bunch of injuries, and obviously there are players in AFCON, but players going off to tournaments and injuries are part and parcel of the game. So if that's the case, then we need to be playing that game. But on the flip side of that, I mean, Arsenal had every right to ask if to have the game postponed. Man, the rules are there, and to it seems like to be exploited, and we exploited them. When the Premier League had the final decision, they didn't have to say or agree with Arsenal that the game could be postponed, but Arsenal saw that it was an opportunity to give some players a bit of rest, get the full strength squad back into the game, especially considering it's a massive game. It's a massive game in terms of the story of a top four race, and you want your best players. So Arsenal did what they had to do, and then for that, I don't think you can really complain. But at the end of the day, I still think that game should have gone on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you said. In terms of, initially I was frustrated with Arsenal and Liverpool, actually, just to throw them in there, because I know a lot of Arsenal fans on social media in particular are somewhat felt like it's a personal attack on them. It's never really been about Arsenal for me personally in this circumstance, because you have to look at Liverpool. They bended the rules to benefit themselves. I believe Leicester have done the same thing, and we're potentially hearing that Burnley might be trying to do the same thing now with their game tomorrow against Watford. So for me, it comes down to the Premier League. It's very clear for me that the Premier League are at fault. As you quite clearly mentioned, also well within their rights to, ask for the game to be cancelled, because by the letter of the law and by the rules, technically they were right. They were right, and of course, with the Arsenal situation, it is somewhat different because the only reason they were right was because Xhaka got sent off, which
Yeah.
is what has caused most of the issue, and that's why for me the Arsenal situation is slightly different to the other teams, because this was Arsenal's fault basically. It was their own wrongdoing. They loaned out Maitland Niles as well, which for me was an absolute baffling decision. When prior to him being loaned out, you were struggling for right backs. I believe you had 3 right backs out at the same time not so long ago, literally like a week ago. Cedric then gets injured, which of course you can't foresee. But nevertheless, you were light in midfield and you were light at right back. So for you not to load him out, I just think it's completely shocking on your part. So again, that is something that needs to be questioned as well. And I feel like it also were, the architects of their own downfall to an extent, and they should have got punished for it. But as you mentioned on the flip side, you exploited a loophole. It's a loophole in the system, and other teams have done it. So why shouldn't Arsenal do it? So this is where it comes down to the situation for me, Kish. What are the Premier League playing at? They're a multi-billion company, and they couldn't foresee a situation that clubs, wrongfully or rightfully, are abusing the system. So, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I have no grudge on Arsenal to be
Yes,
quite
you
frank.
do. Stop.
No, literally, I don't, because if it was the other way around, and say if we had Harry Kane, Son all out injured, and say even our goalkeeper and Højbjerg, etc. out, then yeah, I mean the rules don't state anything in terms of clarity. There's no rule to say if there's a COVID case that it should be a minimum of 5 and you need to name the 5 players. They need to be publicised. There's no rule. It's just
no fake positives as well.
It's such a touchy subject that you can literally just get away with anything these days. So yeah, for that reason, I can't blame Arsenal. And it's a huge game if you look at the grand scheme of things. Cahil's right. I've just looked at the table. Arsenal at the moment are 2 points ahead of us, but they've played 2 games more than us. So if we had won that game, that puts us a point ahead of them with 2 games in hand. So it's a huge game. But then if we lost to Arsenal, then we're 5 points behind, albeit 2 games in hand. But that puts Arsenal in a position where they've beaten us when we're down, and it keeps them still in a strong position in the league. So it was a huge game. I know people say it's early doors, but Arsenal played 20 games. We played 18 so far. So it's you're in the thick of it now. There's quite a few fixtures in the league that are being played. So it's a huge game. So I don't blame them at all. It's where the Premier League lies. I mean, look, I actually think the Liverpool one was more disgraceful because Klopp admitted in his interview that some of the positive COVID cases was a lie. He pretty much admitted that it was a lie, and yet the Premier League didn't investigate that at all. So a manager of a football club has openly admitted to a lie for an advantage against Arsenal in the League Cup first leg that's not even being investigated. So for me, there needs to be clear clarity from the Premier League to say, look, you can't just blame injuries. You can't blame injuries because injuries has always been a part of football, and that was always the case in the past. So if it's a COVID-related issue, then you need to state, is there a limit? Is it if there's 5 players that are injured but COVID positive? Is it 3? What is the rules? Because Arsenal in this same week played the under-23s. They played the under-23s on the same day that the North London Derby was on. So what's the point of having academies? What's the point in having these under-23 games? And what's the point sending players? Like, what infuriated me more today was Pablo Mari going on loan to Udinese when they've literally also got
reducing the numbers as much as they can.
And then Pablo Mari goes on loan today as well. And it's surely the Premier League have to look at that and be like, come on now, like teams are seriously taking the mick. So it will, and with Burnley, it should rightfully be postponed because based on the fact that what's happened to Arsenal, what's happened to Liverpool, you can't then just make a mockery out of them.
I don't think the Burnley game should be postponed. I'm not going to lie.
But in my opinion, I don't agree.
Have you actually seen how many games they've got in hand?
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is now, if they don't allow the postponement for Burnley and they make a mockery out of Burnley, it then goes to the so-called Big Six.
There needs to be a cut-off point. I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying because obviously, if they said to Burnley, "No, you can't have it," then obviously their fans are going to be in uproar. But their Brexit, I've seen as who kept not joking.
Jurgen Klopp, the manager of Liverpool Football Club, admitted himself in an interview that it was a lie.
They played Shrewsbury 2 days later.
A lie.
That was outrageous, isn't it? So, no, for me personally, right, the way I see it is they need to nip it in the bud now because the integrity of the league is getting jeopardized, and it's down to the Premier League, as we mentioned. I'm not going to sit and blame Arsenal. I know a lot of rival fans are blaming Arsenal, etc. I was already saying it for fun. I don't really think it's Arsenal's fault. But the Premier League, they have to fix it because there's no way that the rest of the season can continue where teams have the ability to pick and choose which games suit them. So let's just talk about Burnley because that is the most latest case and potential cancellation or postponement, whatever the terminology is. Burnley, right, are in a position that they're sat near the bottom of the relegation zone, and every single game for them is integral. Every single game for them where they haven't got key players and they'll have those key players back later is absolutely instrumental in them potentially
Well,
staying
let me
up.
tell you, yeah.
Yeah,
Let
but
me
Kish,
tell you.
one second, let me just finish.
No,
So-
just one second. League position. So they've got Watford, yeah. Watford have played 19 games in the league
Burnley
with
played
14
17.
points. Yeah. Burnley have played 17 games with 11 points. So if Burnley win that game, they not only go above them, they go out of the relegation zone. So you can see why.
No, but Kish,
they're trying to
no, but
postpone it.
what I was gonna say before you obviously jumped in was Burnley's main player. Who is it? Who's Burnley's main player?
I don't even know. To be
Cornet.
White Girl, baby.
Cornet is their
Cornet.
main player. It's currently away out of AFCON. Yeah, this is the way I'm seeing it now. And I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna. And it's the same for the team. They're probably thinking we've just lost Wood, we haven't got a replacement in. We've got our main attacking player in Cornet, who's been absolutely fantastic for them this season, is not available to play this game. This is the definition of a 6-pointer for them against Watford. As you mentioned, they're right next to each other in the relegation scrap. Burnley have got 5 games in hand. That can't ride. I'm sorry, but they can't sit there and have 5 games in hand on Newcastle, etc., and delay until they get strikers. So let me give you a scenario now, Kish, yeah? So let's say this game gets called off for the stupidness that is the Premier League rules. And then Cornet, in 2 weeks' time, is available to play Watford. He then scores a brace and beats Watford because he scores the brace. He's inadvertently giving them a massive advantage in them staying up in the league. He should be playing this game because he's not available to play. So for me, and it goes, you can say this for every player that's missed the games. It's that Liverpool saying, "Oh, we're not playing for the next 3 weeks, or whatever." I know they beat Brentford, so it's not an issue. But they delayed their games for the next 2 weeks until Salah and Mane are back. Well, obviously they're better with Salah and Mane in the team. Obviously Burnley is a lower scale, but I genuinely start to think that a lot of teams are starting to do this. They're starting to delay fixtures because they know it betters them when players are available. They might go and sign a striker in 2 weeks, and now that striker is available to play against Watford. They haven't got that striker tomorrow to play. They haven't replaced Wood. So for me, it's just a joke. I mean, we don't know clubs' intentions. We don't know where clubs are at in terms of there's any integrity of what they're doing. But as we've seen with Arsenal, and Liverpool, these clubs are taking the piss. And they're within their right to take the piss because the Premier League have allowed them to do that. So as a multi-billion company, biggest TV revenue, etc., fix it. Because quite clearly, teams are exploiting the system. So for me, the Premier League they're embarrassing themselves as it currently stands because there's no way that a multi-billion company can't fix a solution, within like 24 hours. Why is it having, let's wait for Burnley. Then what happens on the weekend when we have another scenario? Then they're going to keep letting teams do it all season. We've got another 20 games left. Like, when is it going to stop? So that's my
I feel like
what you don't think.
I feel like if whichever team, I feel like they can't change the rules right now. They need to wait till the end of the season to change the rules entirely, because whichever team the hammer falls down upon are going to feel massively what's the word I'm looking for, disrespected or taken or what's the word?
Hard done by. They're going to feel hard.
There we
done
go.
by because every other team's got.
I feel like they're going to feel hard done by. They're going to feel like a whole bunch of these teams have managed to exploit this system, which is very confusing to begin with, even when they implemented the system at the very beginning of the season. So what they need to do, and it becomes a massive PR disaster, even though it is a massive PR disaster right about now. It just shows that they're completely out of their depth and they don't know what they're doing, even though we already believe that they don't know what they're doing. So I don't think they can make it get any worse from here by bringing the hammer down on whichever team it happens to fall upon. And if it happens to fall upon a Burnley or a team in mid-table, they're going to feel massively hard done by, and feel like the Premier League are protecting the top 6. So they have to find a solution, and the solution, I think, is just to wait to the end of the season, allow the teams to do whichever they want, and then come up with a new system next season.
Fair enough, Kojo. I was going to pass it to you, and then we're going to move on because staying on this a bit longer than expected. Mainly because of me, actually. But Kojo, what are your thoughts on the whole points? The rules situation?
Well, again, the Premier League make rules year after year, and they just don't know how to follow them or how to make sure clubs follow them. The 13 players, first team players, if they're fit, then you fill out the bench with youngsters and you play your team. Not many clubs are going to follow that because they know there's always a loophole around it. I'm sure, like I was saying to Kale earlier, I'm sure Arsenal had 13 first team players available, but their thing was they had a lack of midfielders. They had Lokonga and a young Charlie Patino. I'll say those two only because it's obviously quite apparent that they didn't want to bring in anyone from 23s. And the only other option would be to make Cam Chambers a defensive midfielder again. So, this is what clubs are going to do. They're going to be lacking in an area, and they're going to say, well, we really don't want to play this game, or we can't play this game. And it's Liverpool have done it. Liverpool have done it. Arsenal are going to do it. Hell, like City are so clear at the top of the table right now without a striker. But if they decide to get a lot of COVID issues, they'll just say, well, we ain't got a striker, so we don't want to play the game. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, well, you know what? Yeah, you got a striker. No worries. I mean, and that's only Gabriel Jesus. You know what I mean? So, look, I think...
The new platform for serious online trading with 20...
What's good idea?
Wait, hold on. What's going on?
I don't have a clue. So
I think, look, the Premier League are always going to be to blame for this because the clubs, as much as people will get annoyed at them, at the end of the day, they're just taking advantage of the rules that they know they can take advantage of. That's the be-all and end-all. But Liverpool have done it. Arsenal do it, going to do it. Chelsea are going to do it. Man United are going to do it. West Ham are probably going to do it at some point. Villa are going to do it, so on and so forth. So I'm not even mad. At this point, I'm just like, you know what? Me personally, 13 first team players find a way to make the team work. If not, then yeah, of course you can't play. But yeah, they're going to keep breaking the rules and changing things. So I ain't really too fussed about it.
Yeah, fair enough. Prince just saying if you see Mike Richards, he was spot on. I haven't seen. I'm assuming that was in the West Ham.
He was saying that he kind of understand. No, never kind of. He understands why Arsenal did it. But again, it's because the rules can always be broken.
Do it as well. I did it. Yeah. I mean, if I was Arsenal, I would have done the same thing. Like you said, the two centre mids that they had available, they were. I mean, not saying they would have lost the game, but they're more likely to lose that game when Partey and Xhaka are in the team, aren't they? Because obviously they're inexperienced. And
maybe Partey.
Yeah, but as we mentioned earlier, it's a huge game, isn't it, for both teams, and especially for Spurs. If they were to have won that game where it looked like they would, then they would be in the driving seat for top four. But listen, let's move on to another team that might be looking over their shoulders, shall we say. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 1. It all seems to be kicking off on the blue side of London, in particular with Tuchel. Obviously, as the Chelsea faithful have said, he's on course to be your greatest ever manager. And for whatever reason, that course or that path has somewhat it's just fucked up, basically. It's absolutely beautiful to now see Chelsea fans say they've got no squad depth, they haven't got X, Y, and Z. I'm sorry, it must be so difficult to have the third in the Ballon d'Or list on the bench and have the opportunity to bring him on. I mean, it must be so hard to have Kai Havertz on the bench and Timo Werner and Mason Mount and Hudson-Odoi. I mean, cry me a river. Cry me a river. Listen, you're missing one key player, maybe two out of push. Reece James and Chilwell, okay? You're missing both of them. Alonso can do a job. I know Chelsea fans don't like Alonso. And to be quite honest with you, I don't even think he's doing that bad of a job. I think he's doing okay, but of course, he ain't nowhere near as good as Chilwell. We all know that. But nevertheless, the notion that Chelsea have not got squad depth is absolutely beautiful. You've got a £100 million striker up front that's trying his best to get an NBA, if not Inter Milan. Let's discuss, Kish. Chelsea, chat to me.
Do you know what it is, yeah? From being their so-called greatest manager or in line to be, it's not out of the realms of possibility that he could get the sack at the end of the season. It really isn't. People might laugh at me, and any other club, yes. But this is Chelsea Football Club. This is the same club that Ancelotti won the double season after, came runner-up and got sacked. So they breed success. And the thing is, the only thing that Tuchel has to his advantage, and it's lucky in a sense, is the fact that the teams below Chelsea, i.e. Tottenham, West Ham, Arsenal, United, are so far behind that, in my opinion, they won't be worried for top four, in my personal opinion. But if those teams had a bit more about him and a bit more quality, say with Man United, for example, then it wouldn't have been a surprise to me if they'd be fighting for top four, as in like it'd be close for them to be in and out of it.
Would you think Tuchel's job would be on the line there?
100%. I mean, they're in the League Cup final, but if you told any Chelsea fan at the beginning of the season that you're going to get fourth space in the league, fourth position in the league, and you're going to get a League Cup win, I'm sure no Chelsea fan would at all have been satisfied or at all believed that was going to be the outcome. This was a title race that was supposed to be the closest in years. City have just absolutely trampled on every single competitor that they've had. And for me, I think the one embarrassment that I got from that game is, look, I understand Man City are going to have possession, they're going to play the tiki-taka football, and they're going to be pressing from the front. But how poor were Chelsea? I mean, there was no creativity, there was no movement in attack, and that includes Lukaku. It was just sit back. And the funniest thing is, if that was Jose Mourinho that had played the same sort of way, he would have been hounded, absolutely hounded. So give Tuchel the same criticism that you'd give someone like a Mourinho. That performance and tactically from Tuchel was quite simply embarrassing, in my opinion.
To be fair to Mourinho, I think he would have got a point at least from that game. But to go on your Tuchel point about getting a sack, I understand there's this it's not an aura or anything. It's fact. There's a fact about Chelsea that if Roman isn't happy with what's going on, he sacks the manager. But my point to that is, who's left? Like, genuinely, who is out?
Available, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, there you go. Ole might be up for the Chelsea job. Like, who's actually left for him to hire? He's gone through the litter of top quality managers in world football, and yes, you can get a young up and coming guy, but brother, I just don't see him. I feel like Tuchel has the added benefit that maybe a Roberto Di Matteo didn't have, in the fact that he has actually credit in the bank. He did well at Dortmund, he did well at PSG, and he's won the Champions League, and he was in the title race at the very beginning, but Man City are just completely tenfolds above any team in the league right now. So I don't think he can blame him for that. I think if he slips into a top four race, he might be on the rocks maybe next season.
If they don't beat, sorry to interrupt you, if they don't beat Spurs, let's just hypothetical, right? I don't think Chelsea. I do think Chelsea will beat Spurs, but if Spurs to beat Chelsea on the weekend, then Chelsea are in big trouble, because Arsenal are literally right behind them, as are Spurs. If they win, we know from my United's points games that don't necessarily mean points on the board, but they're gonna be looking over their shoulder, because you two are literally breathing down their neck at this point if they lose. So that's a huge game for them on the weekend. And off the back of that, they're not won. If I'm not mistaken, if they don't win that game on the weekend, they're not won in 4 games in the league as well. And then, as Kish said, they've been struggling in the league. They've been getting draws and X, Y, and Z. But it's only 3 at the moment. Obviously, that's if they don't beat Spurs. But that's the thing with Chelsea. And I said this. I can't remember when I said it. I think I might have said it in summer or something. And I threw a flippant comment out, and a lot of Chelsea fans basically shot me down, rightfully so. The champions of Europe. But I said that I would not be surprised if Tuchel gets sacked this time next year. I won't be surprised, and that's not to discredit Tuchel's work, and I don't think he should get sacked. But that is just the nature of the beast that is Chelsea Football Club, and you've got to look at it from a Roman Abramovich perspective. You're the champions of Europe. He's put £100 million down on a striker that was absolutely tearing it up in Italy, rightfully so. Brought him back to Chelsea. It's a perfect romance story. He's done it in the Premier League as well to an extent, and you'd expect your team to kick on at this point. Okay, granted, you got injuries to James and obviously Chilwell, but nevertheless, that is not a valid excuse to go from that investment to then not even challenging for the league. Let's be real, and only having a League Cup potential to show for it. So for me, I won't be surprised if he gets sacked. He shouldn't get sacked, but I won't be surprised.
Well, it's because obviously we were talking about earlier this season whether they having their defenders being top goal scorers, whether that's sustainable or not. Because I think personally, I think they found the perfect formula going forward with Havertz as a false nine last season. They found a system that worked. They started to score goals. When Lukaku got injured this year, they've scored more goals than they had with him in the team. Or they became more productive, I should say, rather. I don't know if they had more goals in that period of time to the other one, but they became a lot more productive in terms of how they put away teams. So, with Chelsea, it's a weird one because, what Chelsea fans need to understand, and it's weird for me to say that because I feel like they should understand this already, but if you win the Champions League, the idea is that you win another major trophy. You are competing all day, every day. So he wants to see that there is a reason for me to keep you because you look like a direct threat in the Champions League. If you're not in the Premier League, at least in the Champions League. And if you don't look like a direct threat in the Champions League, it's because you look at a direct threat in the Premier League. Ideally, you'll be doing both. So 2008, the San Marino, Avram Grant stayed in because he got them to a final and they competed with Man United to the last day for the Premier League title. So, that's what he's looking for. But again, I'm not here to criticize Abramovich because 95% of what he's done for Chelsea has been the correct decision when he's come to making transfers or bringing managers in. But I've said it before and I'll say it again, the Lukaku signing was a problem because if you want because if you want to make your team, title challengers, you need someone that's a defining factor. So look, Man City lost Aguero. Aguero was a defining factor all day, every day, but it lost Aguero, but they have goals in abundance everywhere else. They have game winners, they have game changers. Liverpool have Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane. So that in itself are their game changers. And then Trent from set pieces, whipping balls in. What's his name? Andy Robertson on the other side as well, whipping balls in. Cool. So if you're going to challenge with those guys, if you make sure you're spending 100 million on a striker, you need to make sure it's someone that has a proven record in big games and someone that is not going to come here and mess about and, fumble chances. So like how as soon as they signed Diego Costa, we knew we were in trouble because it's like, oh, sugar. Diego Costa and this hand Cesc Fabregas to add to that midfield as well. Yeah, that's a team that's looking ready to challenge for titles. And they did so. So look, with Lukaku, I just thought that signing wasn't necessary because, yes, he won a League title at Inter Milan. Finally, that's good. But again, even in Italy, as much as he scored as many goals, in the big games, he didn't contribute much. And that's an issue. You might get away with it with a Juventus that's declining, an AC Milan that's now trying to find their feet again, and Napoli, who are basically Italian Dortmund, Atalanta, who are also Italian Dortmund. You can get, and they built a good team with Inter Milan, Lautaro Martinez, Barella, Handanovic at 37 still being a top goalkeeper, Skinner and De Vries. You had something there. So it's like, you got to come to the Premier League. Those clubs that we've mentioned that are now on the decline are starting to build themselves up. City and Liverpool are not those teams. They've been competing with each other for titles. Liverpool got a Champions League in the Premier League, and City have been winning Premier Leagues for a time now. So if you're going to come in, you're going to have to be that guy. And quite frankly, he was not going to be that guy. And I feel that's messed up what Tuchel wanted to do. People talk about what Ronaldo's messing up Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans. I'm thinking, I don't think you should be looking over there. I think you should be looking at Lukaku and Tuchel because he has something working with Havertz finally. Mason Mount and Havertz got combining in the final and they won the Champions League with that front, those guys going forward. Did you really need a Lukaku on top? No. And if you're trying to get a big striker, is he the guy that's going to lead you to a title in big games? Me personally, no.
Here's where I disagree with that. Is I mean, yes, they did win the Champions League, but all as you said before, it wasn't going to be sustainable that they relied on their goals this season from their wing backs and last season from Jorginho's getting 7. So they needed a player that has a massive goal tally. And I do, even though I agree that Lukaku doesn't really hit it in the big games, and he has got that type of flat track bully. But if he's got that type of flat track bully, you expect him to get goals and massive goals against teams like Burnley's, I was going to say West Ham to be the. No, I won't mention West Ham, even though he does score quite a few goals against West Ham. Crystal Palace, those type of teams, you expect him to get goals at £100 million. He just hasn't produced, and this is why I blame Tuchel. This is the marquee signing. I understand the managers have systems and XYZ, but if you're paying that amount of money for a striker to score you goals against whichever team, you need to play a system when that striker benefits, and he hasn't played a system where Lukaku benefits.
You don't think so?
No.
He's isolated at all times, on his own for majority of the time.
Yeah, but he can't. But the Kish, right? Look, obviously, you know, there's a speculation that I got an agenda against Lukaku, but what
speculation?
Hey, you couldn't even say that. You couldn't even say that without laughing.
I'm smiling so much because you guys.
All I'm saying, we're gonna go later in the show, but if this was Martial FC, my guy would get everyone on this panel.
Kojo knows about me and Martial in the group chats. Trust me, I haven't been defending him at all this season.
Yeah, that's true.
If you learn finally, that's good.
No, trust me, Kojo that's just right to that. But listen, regarding Lukaku, obviously in terms of his isolation, this is the issue that he had at Manchester United. And it seems like Lukaku's comments coming out about, you know, the system doesn't suit me, etc. I actually agree with his comments because they're not playing to his strengths. You buy £100 million striker, right? You got to build a team around him. However, the issue was the foundations were already laid, and he was going to be the cherry or the icing on the cake. He wasn't meant to come in, and you weren't meant to reset the foundation and say, okay, let's completely shuffle the pack and set it up again to benefit Lukaku. Because as Kojo rightly said, the front three, okay, granted the goals weren't flying in all cylinders, but as a front three, it was cohesively working. And obviously, off the back of that, they won the Champions League. And I'm not saying Lukaku's come in and been a detriment to that. The issue kind of lies with Tuchel trying to work out a solution to how to get the best out of Lukaku. And currently, he's actually playing to his weaknesses, which is his ability to hold up the ball and pop off play. I'm not saying he's not capable of doing that, because at Inter Milan, he showed that part of his game has definitely improved. However, that is not his strong suit. His strong suit is having players next to him, i.e. Martinez, I can't pronounce his first name, Martinez at Inter Milan, who was absolutely phenomenal. I think Lukaku and Werner not playing together has been a myth to me to why that's not happened. Because I think Werner would complement Lukaku a lot more, and I think Lukaku benefits of a player playing closer to him. But with Chelsea, they don't really seem to play like that, because he plays with players that are naturally wingers, i.e. Ziyech. When Mount plays, Chelsea look better when Mount plays. Whether you think of his ability or you don't think he's this world-class player, he suits Chelsea a lot better, and he's better for Lukaku. But Mount, for some reason, hasn't really played with Lukaku that much. So I'm still waiting for them two together. So that's where I think Tuchel actually needs to take a bit of the responsibility, because he's setting them up wrong. You spend £100 million on a striker, and now you're not playing to his strength. So Lukaku's comments were right, in my opinion, but he shouldn't have made them. If that makes sense.
Conte himself said that a few weeks ago, just before he was hired by Tottenham. He said in an Italian news article to say that Tuchel's not playing Lukaku in the system that he needs to play in. Again, listen.
Yo, I'm going to spot my water out. Look at this comment, yo. Lukaku said I'll come back with a new package.
I mean, the part where you can't defend him, look, yes, Tuchel might have not played to his system that he prefers. You know, he might not have had two up top like he's had at Inter and succeeded in. But look, you've paid £100 million for this player. A player who himself has said it was a dream for him to come back to Chelsea. He will fight for the badge. You know, it's somewhere where he had unfinished business. His hero's Didier Drogba. Drogba himself came out when he was signed to say how proud he was for him to come back. All of this, and it's like he's waiting for the ball to come to him rather than making any sort of movement at all. He said in his interview, in everything that happened, one of the parts he said was, look, people say that I don't press and I don't track. That's a myth. I will go for a brick wall for the team, blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't. You know, he for a guy of his magnitude and his size, he should be doing a lot more than what he does. The ball should stick to him so much more than what it actually does, because he's probably one of the biggest players on the pitch every single game. He's rapid. He's not a slow player. He has bundles of pace. The only thing he probably doesn't have is the technical ability that maybe another striker might have. But apart from that, him on paper, Chelsea should be working. So he needs to look at himself in the mirror and say, look, the main reason why it's not worked out for me so far is because of me, myself. And that is the truth for Lukaku. And that was probably being the truth of Man United, because initially at Manchester United, he had that purple patch where I think he scored 8 in 8, or it was a ridiculous kind of number, and then it petered off as as Mourinho told him to work harder and harder in defense and track back and make that effort. It wasn't happening for him. Then then everything sort of coming out, blah, 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 blah. And that seems to be the trend with Lukaku. But look, he's got everything there. It's just the fact that he's 28, 29. You can't really teach a player that doesn't have the technical ability to all of a sudden like get onto the training pitch and learn new tricks, and that's the issue for him. So look, although I love Lukaku, everyone on this panel knows how much I rate the guy. I just can't defend certain things that he's been doing on the pitch this season, because we all said beginning of the season that if Chelsea signed a striker, i.e. Lukaku, league was done, in my opinion. We all said, not we all said it, but a lot of us said it. But a lot of us said it was Chelsea. A lot of us said it was between Chelsea and City, and as soon as Chelsea signed it, Lukaku, we were all like, "Oh wow, now this is going to be a close one." And unfortunately, Lukaku just has to blame himself for the situation, and only he himself can get out of it as well.
Absolutely. But listen, we're going to move on from Chelsea. I was going to quickly take a dig at him about the handshake with Kevin De Bruyne. We ain't got time. So we'll move on to the circus. That is Manchester United Football Club. I'm sure there's a lot to discuss here, but we'll try to keep it not too brief, but brief enough so we can actually talk about West Ham for a change. So Manchester United drawing 2-2 to Aston Villa. Who else than Philip Coutinho to come on and make the difference? I mean, I've calmed down to be quite friendly honest with you, because there was a point that I was so angry because I can't believe how badly Ralph Rangnick bottled the game. It's actually, for me, it's still inexcusable, because if we won that game, which we should have at 2-0 up with 11 minutes, I'm not saying we would have got a top four, but I think a lot of people would have been worried about Man United. But obviously, we can't trust the team to get more than one win on the bounce. So it's very difficult to really put Man United's name in the hat as it currently stands. But this time, as always, the floor is open. Whatever you guys want to discuss regarding Manchester United. Kojo looks fed up, so I'm going to leave you to the end. Kale, we'll come to you first. But obviously, let's jump in whatever your thoughts. So, Kale, what are your thoughts?
Thank you.
What do you reckon, Maka?
Yeah, man, that game was very much in your hands, and Bruno Fernandes had probably the game of his life, or the game of this season at least, and for you guys to throw it away, especially given the fact that Emi Martinez gave you the first goal as well, man. It's just a disgrace. I mean, to be fair to Villa, they had players that worked their socks off. Jacob Ramsey had a fantastic game. Is it Chukwuemeka? He played fantastic.
Caused problems, to be fair.
Yeah, they played out of the socks, and it was all lining up for the fact that Coutinho would eventually come on and score the goal. I said top bins. I thought you were Kerr wanted to top bins. It wasn't quite a curl. It was a nice tap, and but the fact that Varane, I mean, you need to talk about Champions League Varane there, because he just let him drop off. And the floor was Coutinho's there for that goal. So defensively, you guys are looking shaky still. I mean, how much can you blame Rangnick for this? It's been 5 managers. Was it 5 managers now? Where these players, man, they're just defensively not good enough. Going forward, they're not good enough. You're missing Pogba, of course. I'll always say you're missing Pogba, even though people don't seem to like him and don't realize his influence until he's actually not in the team. But man, I can't wait for when Pogba leaves, because boy, you're just gonna be more trouble.
Bro, you're really sticking the knife into my heart. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Kel, you could have gone a bit worse, but obviously fair play to you, was respectful. I'm not going to be respectful because it was an absolute embarrassment, to be quite honest with you. Look, you're saying regarding the defense, I actually thought Varane had a fantastic game. He was technically at the fault for the Coutinho goal. I'm not going to sit and say he wasn't. Obviously, he needs to do better there. He needs to position himself better. However, both the fullbacks are out of position. Tellers, where the hell was Tellers? And where was Delon? So, and where was the midfield? I mean, there was so many issues. I feel like Varane was just, he had no other option. He didn't know what he was doing, basically, to an extent. Because Tellers really should have been there covering, but he wasn't there. Delon was out of position. People complained about him. But the issue comes down to Rangnick. At the end of the day, they've just subbed on Philip Coutinho in the 67th minute. I know the exact minute because I'm still pissed off. Subbed him on the 67th minute. Manchester United go 2-0 up. Coutinho gets subbed on. At this point, you're thinking, okay, they're gonna come on to us. Coutinho's on, the crowd's up. We've kind of taken the wind out of their sails because we've scored at the right time. just prior to his introduction. So I thought, we're fine here. We'll hold on. 5 minutes of Coutinho being on the pitch, and it was very much apparent that we couldn't get out of our half. I mean, it wasn't like we had anything on the other side. Cavani wasn't holding the ball. He was doing his best Lukaku impression. I mean, Elanga came off. Apparently got injured. Greenwood came off. Everyone came off apart from the people that needed to come off, i.e. Cavani, Fred, and Matic. Fred potentially can stay on. He's got the energy. Cavani and Matic in particular, was absolutely finished. His legs were gone. He had a good game up until about 60 minutes. After 30 minutes, the guy was well off the pace of the game. Everyone could see that the midfield was getting overrun. And for me personally, Randy completely bottled the game. He preached about Van de Beek on Monday. Oh, Van de Beek. Yes, let's sub Van de Beek on. He gave us control. He showed it up in the middle of the park. The exact same team, exact same scenario. What does he do? He doesn't sub him on. And that costs us the game. I'm not saying Van de Beek comes in and automatically Man United see the game out. But I tell you what happens. We have an extra midfielder in there with fresh legs. And secondly, we have a midfielder in there who can control the ball and actually pass the ball forward. Who did we have on the pitch? Matic and Fred both knackered and incapable of starting attack. So for me, we dropped 2 points. Absolutely shocking. We played well up until that point, but we bottled it. So that's my personal perspective. I don't know what you guys think, Kish and Kojo, whoever wants to take it from there. But yeah, I'm not
breaking news as well, by the way. Burnley's game has been postponed.
Oh, fuck Burnley, you piece of shit. You ruined my FPL week, you wankers. Fucking two of my games are... Oh, fuck it.
Look, I mean, there was a couple of positives. Let's start with the positives. That first half was probably, in my opinion, up there with the first half that Rangnick had under his reign. I think it was against Palace that you guys played. That was probably, it has to be up there, and that's me scratching. Kojo, I'm trying.
Kojo's fuming, honestly.
That first half was, and again, it was a massive difference compared to the first half that you had against Villa, in the FA Cup, because Villa absolutely battered you that game. So that was good. Elanga, I really, really liked. From what I could see, Elanga, he was causing the fullbacks. Cash, was it Cash or was it Target?
Yeah, Cash.
He caused Cash all sorts of problems in that first half. And again, going back to the FA Cup game, when he came on, he gave the fans a spark. He was cheering up the fans. He was getting everyone going, and homegrown talent as well. It's probably what the fans want to see. So that was good to see. But then, as soon as Bruno scored that second goal, you knew that United were going to sit back and try and see it out. But the one thing we know with this United team is they cannot sit back and they cannot hold any money in the world. So if you know that those are the two areas of weakness, then why have the tactics that you've gone with? And you only have to blame Rangnick with that. I think the fact that Donny van der Beek, he was basically praising all week, about how much of an impact he's had when he's come on through the bench. And to be fair, he's had a really good impact when he's come on, but for him to then cough up these lies and then bring him on in the 85th minute, I think it was, and he almost scored the winner, Van der Beek, when he turned
my God,
on the left-hand side, and it literally missed the post by I think a couple of inches, and it's I understand that people always say, "Oh, there must be something in training that he doesn't like," but surely what we've seen so far of him in game time has been miles better than any other player in that midfield, bar Bruno, I'd say, in that game. So what does it take for him to be in that midfield? Because it's clearly evident that with Pogba out of the team, there's no control in that midfield. There's too many sideward passes. There's too many passes back to the defense. There's no one in that midfield of Matic, Fred, and McTominay that has any forward-thinking process in their head. The one praise I will give to is McTominay, though. I think McTominay is, in the last few weeks, he's played decent. You can't say he's been utterly shambolic.
Would you say he's been our best? Would you say has been our best player since Rangnick coming?
Do you know what? I'm actually going to have to say that. I'll be honest. In terms of in that midfield, not the best player in the whole team, but I think in midfield, he's probably been your best midfielder, which is. I mean,
no, but to be fair, who could you say has been?
I think McTominay's not been the worst of the pack that you've had in midfield since.
If you're saying McTominay, that shows how in the mud, Manchester United. Oh,
I
man,
know,
that's
I know.
crazy.
And-
I mean, the fact that me and Kojo can't debate
But
that.
look, the
point.
foundations of that club is the fact that look, you've now had a lot of these players have been here since the Mourinho era, and a couple of them since the Van Gaal
Oh,
era.
yeah, so put the hay actually. That's a good point. It probably is
Yeah,
there.
it has to be a case now where look,
Was it
it's blatant
2017 again?
obvious that you can't get a tune out of these players. Confidence is shattered out of the whole team. Greenwood as well, by the way, deserves a lot of criticism. I know he's young, but that guy is probably the greediest player I've ever seen. His confidence is so below par, but yet he still cuts in every single time and comes out with the deadest shots that I think I've seen.
I don't agree with the Greenwood slander, you know.
Trust me,
I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of people. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've seen a lot of people mentioning Greenwood's name, and I honestly couldn't disagree more. Because not at you, but just in general with my United fans saying he's greedy, etc. He's been doing this for how many seasons now, Kojo? Greenwood does this. He did it last season. He did it the season before, and the only difference was the ball was finding the back of the net. And that was the only difference. And at the moment, shots, as you mentioned, they haven't been hit with the same venom, and he hasn't really got the same contact on many of his shots, especially in the Aston Villa game and the Cup. There was that 3 that just trickled to Martinez that he shot from edge of box. But I think he's not doing anything different that he was doing before. I just think he can be greedy. There's no denying that. But he's a striker. That's his nature. He's a striker. You tell me what strikers that's not greedy. 90% of them are selfish. It's just how they're
that's the problem,
like that.
though. That's
He's
the
a
problem.
striker. He's playing in the wrong position. And I think people have started to be a bit critical of him because he's not scoring. If let's say if he cuts in and bangs one in like he was doing last season, no one was saying he was greedy last season. I mean, I've mentioned it previously, but at the same time, I can't be critical of a young lad who's a striker playing on the right wing when it's not his position. So, Kojo, what are your thoughts? There's someone saying Greenwood has become predictable. I mean, there definitely is a case for that. I do agree with that sentiment. Shahid, I have seen you comment about Sancho. We'll come back to that very shortly. Don't worry, I'm not ignoring you. But Kojo, what are your thoughts on the Man United situation, Greenwood, etc.?
Mate. Let me just take a sip of my water quickly. 1 sec. Right. Okay. Man United are in the drains of Birmingham. That's how far they've fallen. Yeah. You know, at this point, where do I even begin? Like, for example, right, if you want to blame Ranić, cool. For me personally, I don't understand. You bring Telles and Dalot in, right? And the thing is, I don't really care about forward passing from Fred and McTominay or Matic, because quite frankly, in this system, what he's asking is for the forward guys to press, for the wing backs to become sort of like wingers, and for you guys to just protect a little bit. That's what your job is. None of you can do that. But at the same time, when Telles goes forward, I don't know how he's expecting the man Matic to cover at left back. That's like asking Mertesacker to cover Thierry Henry. There's no logic behind it. Now, when it comes to the players and the fact that you guys, when you said McTominay has been our best midfielder, in my head, I was like, in my head, I was quiet and I was rolling my head because I was thinking to myself, Michael, think of a player that's been better. Think of a player that's been better than that in that midfield. Please, that's be someone that's been better than him in that midfield. And quite frankly, the only person that's been better than him in that midfield is Pogba because he hasn't played. That's literally how bad Man United are right now. But you're right. He's been the best player, quite frankly, because of one performance where he scored. I think he scored 2 goals that game, or he scored 1 goal and then one. Ronaldo had a tapping from his effort. And then the next game was against Burnley, and he thought it was still Zinedine Pirlo.
Yeah,
so he was trying to bang volleys,
game, yeah.
and he was kicking CO2 instead of an actual football. Look, I'm so tired of talking about this team, you know, because like it's the same rinse and repeat, man. Even on free midfield today, I called Everton TK Max Man United. Am I even being disrespectful to them?
Man said TK Max.
Am I actually being disrespectful to Everton?
You're not. Everton are washed, bro. Everton
okay, cool. I'm just making sure. Look, if I'm being real, yeah. I think Kish said it. A lot of these players have been here a long time, bro. The thing is, Ranić is just he's always been a short-term manager. He's going to be a long-term in terms of staying at the club and going upstairs. But, bro, a lot of these players just suck, man. I'm sorry. That for lack of a better term, they just completely suck. That's as simple as it gets. There's a lot of players that will not. That even that one. I'm not going to read that. I've seen it. I'm already.
That's crack up to be fair.
Can't lie. Prince, you see that? I know you tweeted that. I don't tweet that. You typed that in here, and you've got the same smile that Henry has in your profile picture
Prince
right
is
now.
Arsenal fan,
I
isn't it, if I'm
know.
not mistaken?
Yeah, he is. I know he's smiling very much like Henry right now. His lips are moving.
Yeah,
He's
that
just
Karen
burst out
Henry
laughing.
clip, wasn't it?
No, bro. Honestly, look, Luke Shaw, he's given us 18 months in 8 years. Not good enough. Wan-Bissaka, less said the better. Dallo shouldn't even be a starting right back for Man United. I was calling for him because he's better going forward. I needed something better going forward.
Still is better going forward, to be fair.
Oh, no, he is, and that's what I was asking for. But really and truly, if you want to be your better side, Dallo's not going to be a starting right back for the next 10 years. You know, Rafael Varane, I think he's been good at United so far for when he's played, but at times it doesn't look like he's caught Maguire syndrome. Maguire is not even better than Phil Jones. Fred is in a system where he's allowed to press more, which is good for him, and he pressed for the second goal. Other than that, he did absolutely nothing.
Yo, Kojo, can we just talk about Fred putting his hand up? If he puts his hand up one more time when he's passed the ball away, I'm gonna fight Swan. Because he does it about 4 times a game. Bro, there was one instance in the first half that everyone was actually for once passing the ball and keeping it. But guess who fucks it up? Fred, heavy touch, got his hand up straight away. 5 minutes later, hand up straight. Bro, just, you're not Alan Shearer, man. Just give it a rest, my guy. Every 2 seconds, man, it's pissing me off, man.
He's been irritating. But I will say this, though. I'm not even angry at the forward players, any of them, and I'll tell you why. Rashford, Ronaldo, if we had Bruno today, he's a midfielder, but he plays more like an attacking midfielder, such as a second striker. Sancho, if Martial is going to play again, and Mason Greenwood. The one thing that everyone has to recognize about Man United is the midfield lacks so much cohesion. There is literally a lack of midfield. In every game, you can highlight moments where, like, Fred and McTominay are so far apart and there is no filler. There is no structure inside the midfield. So what happens is naturally your wingers and your forwards are always going to drop back and always going to want the ball and always want to have to try and do something. And it makes for a disjointed team. And this is where maybe Rangnick has to just take risks now and start dropping certain man. I don't know, but it's becoming a thing where I'm just like, I can't get mad at them anymore because yes, Rashford's form has not been good, absolutely. But then when you look at the team, you're like, well, what is he supposed to feed on? The most he's fed on in the last couple of years, if we're being real honest, is hoping that Lindelof can give him a curved through ball over the top so he can run onto it. There is nothing there. Or Pogba when he's playing, because Pogba has obviously the ability and the vision to find him from a distance. Like, these guys are feeding off scraps. So what do you expect them to do? Why do you think the team is so disjointed? This is why I don't even scream at Martial anymore, because if Martial's to come back, he's going to suffer the same. And I knew he was suffering the same before. It's just that I didn't think he was using his physical powers to the best of his ability. But then it's like, well,
Jeffers, bro.
No, I also call him Sakala Soldado, bro. Like, but the point is, the more I deep it, and I call him that because I'm not satisfied with what he's done over the years. He's one of those players like Luke Shaw that's been here a while now, and he's not really, for me, hit the heights that I would hope he would. But the fact is, if he comes into this team now, the midfield is not a midfield. There is no balance. There is no this and the other. You can bring even Donny Van de Beek, you bring him to this midfield, he's still going to be partnered up with someone else that you just can't trust. So what is the point? Real talk, what is the point? The work that this team needs to do is long, because Darren said it on our pod, like, we want to improve. Everyone else is going to be improving on top of us, and everyone below us is going to be trying to improve to get above us. And then if you keep just doing this, eventually you're going to go from 4th to 7th to 10th. And it's just like, you will start being like, wait, hold on. Why am I United 10th? Like, I was in Kale's house on Sunday and people were like, yo, what am I United doing over here? Asking me, I'm like, what do you want to say? Like, what do you want to say?
Those family gatherings, people bring up how shit your team is.
All right, bro, listen.
It's peak.
That's exactly what it was.
That's literally what it was.
They're asking you, like, you got answers, bro. You're like making.
That's literally what it was.
These man are looking at you like, shut up, man. Shut up, man. You guys are dead.
But Usman, this is why, like, in the group chat, I've gone from like sending voice notes of anger to just being like, you know what? This is just what it is. Because even that game, you're 2-0 up. And I'm not even going to get into Rangnick like this. The players should have enough experience to say, all right, cool. If they're trying to build momentum, calm the game down, shut the fans completely up, and then just try and see the game out. And then if you make subs, fresh legs, just keep the structure, remain compact. There was no level of compact whatsoever. And I've said this before. yes, I will talk about managers, but sometimes as a player, you have to take responsibility. Arsene Wenger is one of the greatest managers in Arsenal's history. Vieira and flipping Lee Dixon said there were times when he said something on the touchline, and they said, "Hey, F that, I ain't listen to what you're saying. That don't make sense." And they saw the game out themselves. Why? Because they had the responsibility. They had the responsibility about themselves to say, you know what, I'm going to do what I feel is right for the situation. And if I flop, that's on me. Man United players don't want that. They don't want that responsibility. That's why Ronaldo can come out and talk, and people are saying, "Oh, is he talking about Greenwood?" Well, if Greenwood don't want responsibility, sit on the bench. I don't care at this point. Like, if you're not about it, go kick. I don't care anymore. When I say that, I'm not trying to be rash about anything. If you're not about this life here, go and be about this life somewhere else. It might even be better for you. Get a fresh start somewhere. Go and see some sun in Spain if you're Martial. Go and see Pepe Le Pew if you're Pogba back home in France. I don't care. Just, I don't care. Just do something. And if you're not able to do, if you're not doing it here, go and do it elsewhere. I'm just tired, man. I need more water.
Kojo's fully added up. But listen, we could see and talk about Man United for long. There's so much that we haven't even discussed. Rashford situation, Martial. I mean, there's people commenting about Sancho, what's happening with Sancho. But we need to move on because we haven't got time. We haven't mentioned West Ham and other teams. I know Kish is probably wanting to speak about Martial, so I'm going to let you, Kish, quickly, very briefly, because obviously viewers go back and forth. Like, very briefly, lads, what are our thoughts on the Martial Rangnick situation? Because we have to discuss that, to be fair.
It's a mess again, isn't it? I mean, for a club the size of Manchester United, it seems like there's a daily feed at the moment with player unrest, player disagreements, what the board has said compared to what a player has said. There's obviously an insider here. There has to be. I mean, for the amount of rumours to come out, there has to be a player that's obviously not getting game time, which could be any of them, that's leaking these stories. Because other than that, I mean, how embarrassing must it be for Rangnick coming out with his interview post-match and saying Martial didn't want to play, for then an hour later Martial to basically post on his Instagram that he would never turn down an opportunity to play for the cause and for the club. I mean, listen, we don't know who to believe, but the one thing that we can say is, Martial aside, the club is in an absolute mess, and it's got to the stage now where, look, in my opinion, you can't blame the owners on this, in my personal opinion, in terms of on-field situations, because they've given every manager that's been there backing to an extent. You can't then just blame the managers, although managers have had their saying, like, selection choices and choices of formations, etc. But it all goes down to the players. We Kojo mentioned this earlier. It's the same players that have been recycled from manager after manager after manager, and because they're paid extortionate wages, which is no fault of the players. That part you could blame the board. It's no fault of the players. It's the fault of the board on that extent. They can't sell these players. And then you have people like Phil Jones. Granted, he had a fantastic game, coming back, and fair play to the guy. You could tell that he was really emotional and it meant a lot to him, but he shouldn't be at the club still. He should have been gone 3-4 years ago. There's other players that have overstayed their welcome. Luke Shaw, again, had one good season.
There, man. I can't believe Matt is still there.
But even Pogba shouldn't be there, in my opinion. Pogba should have gone under the Mourinho era when it was, at that point, you could have got the valuation for him that was worth his sale value. But there's players there that have just gone past their date, and it's going to be a massive job, because everyone said at the beginning of the season that, look, the squad is fantastic, and on paper, yes, you've got to agree with that, but it's not a team. We've always said that Manchester United, at the moment, or even the last few years, there's never been a team, and they're coming unstuck, and now any manager, if it's Poch, if it's Ten Hag, if it's whoever you go for, is going to have the same issue under these players, unless you let them go. You can't. You could have Pep Guardiola in this Manchester United setup, and I guarantee you ain't winning the league. Like, you're not, because the players that are there, and it's costing you fans, a huge deal, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, Kish, I think you summarized that perfectly. I do agree with a lot of what you said. In terms of, obviously, the system and everything with the board, etc. But listen, we're going to move on to West Ham United. 3-2 loss against Leeds United. I mean, Coach, it's been a difficult few days for you. Obviously, Man United lost, West Ham lost, and then Carter fumbled the bag. You love to see it. All three of your teams have capitulated within the matter of a couple of days. I mean, I would say you love to see it, but because it's you love to see it, Kojo. You love to see it. But listen, let's talk about West Ham. Obviously, Lawless is not here, so Kojo will put his West Ham hat on. Listen, for me personally, right, West Ham defensively were absolutely pathetic. I know Lawless will say, Diop, etc. We've seen what he said in the chat. They're missing Zuma, and I'm not denying that. But this guy has been talking about Creswell coming back to the team, and I rate Creswell highly. But that first goal, what was he doing? Completely misjudges the ball. It's a long, straight ball from the goalie practically, and he's just completely bottled it. Like, he's just got his lines wrong, misjudged the flat of the ball, etc. And it's inexcusable from a player of his caliber. But he wasn't the only one to fault for the game. What did we make of West Ham? I enjoyed it as a neutral, I'm not going to lie. But what did we make of the West Ham performance and Moyes complaining about just nonsense, doing his best Klopp impression, basically? What did you guys make of it?
Yeah, I didn't get the Moyes thing. I don't know why he... I mean, yeah, it was just weird. I mean, no. Okay, so he's talking about the fact that they played the FA Cup game, I think it was, and then they played a midweek game. They felt that wasn't necessary, but fixtures are fixtures, man. At the end of the day, at this point, if you know it's coming, you just got to deal with it, whether you like it or not, and that's the be and end of that. In terms of their performance, yeah, it wasn't a good performance, and actually lucky it was 3-2 because I feel like Leisha defended the Bowen header better, personally. The second goal, remember who scored that again? Sorry,
For Leeds?
No, for West Ham.
4-0.
Yeah, that was a good goal. That was a nice tidy finish.
Good goal, to be fair.
Yeah, that was a good goal. So even that one, that's fine. But the way Jack Harrison was just finding space in and around the West Ham players was just a joke. It was quite poor. No one was picking him up. He was obviously the danger man in terms of trying to find chances, create chances, score chances. He got deserved hat trick, and it's funny because despite this, look, West Ham are not in a terrible spot. They're still 4th place. Yes, the teams below them do have a game in hand. So, but really and truly, if they were to even finish in like a Europa League / Conference League spot, it's not a bad thing for West Ham. They're not supposed to be a Champions League team anyway. That's not a big deal. But it also is an eye opener for them because I feel like, Dan included, actually, I feel like they're starting to feel like they are becoming a Champions League team. And if you're going to become a Champions League team, these kind of mistakes cannot be happening at home. At least make home a fortress. Make home a place where even if you're hanging on for a draw, you get the draw. These are a decent side, but these are also missing a lot of players. They had a very young bench. I just feel like West Ham didn't have a stranglehold on the game. They were always chasing leads. They had to come back from behind twice and even went behind again. It wasn't a good performance, but there's nothing for them to panic about or panic for. I mean, they are missing Ogbonna. They are missing Zuma. Those two started very well together this season, and they've been very well together this year. But the fact is, even Dawson started actually well this season as well. But Dawson was poor. Diop was poor. As you said, Shawcross was poor. And there's no guarantee that Zuma's going to come back in and immediately be good because Zuma's had this in his past where for Chelsea and for Everton, he's had a good run of form. And then he suddenly just starts producing shocking performances also.
Hopefully he does, to be fair, because the next game is Man United, so...
He
normally scores against us.
He plays very well against Man United. But look, we'll see what happens. I think, again, the Man United game is a huge game for both teams because if West Ham want to at least cement themselves within a...
I think if West Ham win that game, then Man United are completely out of the title.
Listen, right now, I don't even consider Man United part of the top 4 race. That's funny.
Absolutely, but you know me, because you're always the optimist. You never know.
Oh yeah, I know you do.
Mathematically, it's still possible.
Could be worse. Could be Jerry and Shout that we're still collecting, but hey, it is what it is. Anyway,
yeah.
Took shots at
fellow Ghanaian brother. It'd be like your own people. It'd be your own people, you know.
I'll wrap up my words here. West Ham shouldn't panic. It is a bad loss, but they'll bounce back and they'll be fine, man. I heard the little boos at the end. I was like, why are you guys dropping boos? You're 4th place. Like, breathe. Just breathe, take it easy. You've got Antonio up front.
Was that game at home, yeah? When the fans were back, yeah? Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Kish.
I'm
I
surprised you didn't know that.
Oh,
that
I'm waiting for
do it
Kish,
is.
to be fair.
Do it is.
I'm waiting for
Do
Kish.
it is. Kish.
Was there a lot of booze? Was there a lot
Kish.
of
Kish.
booze?
Do it is.
They
Yeah.
may have
Do it is,
planted a
yeah.
flag in the center.
No, there's no agenda. I'm just asking if it was a lot of booze.
No. There's an agenda. But I mean, you
Oh,
and
was
your
there?
club, you and your club are the last people to ask about booze. So let's not even go there.
Wow.
If I'm gonna be down, I'm gonna be down for the day. You can't talk about booze.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do it. Okay, let's bring you in here. Obviously, you know, you famously on this podcast said basically West Ham is shit in it pretty much, and I know you basically said you basically.
When have I said that?
You
You
bad
basically
for
said-
words in your mouth, you know.
No,
Was
but
that?
you've kind of had the point of that West Ham will drop off, etc., and you've always been consistent in the sense that you know they don't belong here. Do you still feel like West Ham don't belong in this top four race, or are they in a false position? What do you reckon?
You're putting words in my mouth there.
I'm
Wisman. I
asking
never
now.
said.
You don't have to agree with that statement.
No, I never said West Ham don't belong. I think West Ham, if they're performing, I can't say West Ham don't belong there in one sentence and say Arsenal do, because considering where we've been, it's been poor, and we absolutely. I'm loving the fact that we are there, but in terms of our progression, we shouldn't be here at this point in time. But I'm enjoying it nevertheless. I think West Ham actually deserve to be where they are right now. But I've always maintained the idea that they don't have the greatest of teams that even West Ham fans think that the West Ham fans think they do. I don't believe that they have quality players like Arsenal, like Spurs, like Manchester United. I don't think they do. And the fact that they're playing well right now is down to Moyes getting the best out of out of an aging squad, an experienced squad. But in a few years' time, when those legs eventually tire and the injuries start picking up, I think they're going to drop off. That's my personal opinion on the whole West Ham situation. Right now, they're doing well, but to be honest, I think West Ham should be where they are right now. They should be challenging for European spots. They should be rocking the boat in terms of the Champions League race. Their club has been poorly run for the past 10 years, but join the club, man. A lot of our teams have been poorly run for the past 10 years.
Yeah, facts. That's facts. Yeah.
So
Literally,
enjoy where they are right now. But to be honest, I think they will eventually drop off because, as I said at the very beginning of the season, as they start going deeper into the European competition, cup competitions, they're going to pick up injuries, and those injuries are going to eventually pile up, and they'll drop off.
Yeah, no, I think in terms of what you're saying, I do agree. I've said consistently that they just haven't got a squad depth basically to maintain it. Obviously, with Moyes' complaints, I mean, the complaints don't make sense to us because obviously we're used to playing them kind of that amount of games, not us physically, but our teams that we support. So it's understandable for us. But him at West Ham, he's obviously struggling because he's probably got tired legs. He hasn't got many players fit, as we've alluded to. They have had quite a lot of injuries. Although I was very harsh on Creswell, I mean, it wasn't harsh, but although I was pointing at Creswell, mistake for the first goal, he has literally just come back from a very lengthy injury. He's probably not fully fit. He did get subbed off, if I'm not mistaken, for Masiako. I can't remember if that was factual or not, but Masiako did come on. I can't remember if it was for. But nevertheless, West Ham, they did a few more additions. I'm a bit surprised they've not signed a couple of players in this window because I think they were similar to all of us, really. I think all of our teams really need a couple of additions to really kick on and stay a claim for that top four. You know, if any of our teams were to really show a bit of ambition in this window, then top four would have been guaranteed for that team, because I think that's what's the only thing missing from all of our teams, really. Arsenal need a couple of players, Spurs definitely need a couple of players, Man United need a DM, West Ham need a couple of reinforcements. If any of our board showed a bit of ambition, I think that team would have been favourite for top four. As it currently stands, obviously your three teams are in a better situation than us, but we're still capable of getting it because all of us are very inconsistent. And that's why I've got a bit of hope still. But anyways, moving on from West Ham, I just want to quickly rattle through the last bit of news. I was going to mention Spurs briefly just then because we were speaking about Paul Boards and Spurs have taken the piss this week. So Kish, I'm going to ask you very quickly and then we'll go to Rafa and we'll do the prediction. I'm not going to mention Liverpool because we'll do that next week. I expect him to beat Brentford, but fair play to him. I hate him, boys. Anyways, Kish, chat to me about your new cinema. I'm assuming you're wanting to go. Like, How are you feeling about having a fantastic facility right on your doorstep?
I am tired.
Usman, you know what it is? Sorry, Kish, yeah, but you see the way Usman just drops bars and then just stops you.
He lets it marinate, bro. He lets it marinate.
So, but Kish, talk to us about what film you're looking forward to watching most.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? All or nothing Spurs, isn't it?
Honestly, this board is going to be the death of me. I don't enjoy supporting this football club anymore, quite frankly. You saw it on my messages last week in the chat. It's an absolute disgrace. You buy a manager, in my opinion, that we all agreed, the majority vote that you'd say that he's probably the third best manager in the league, or if not the fourth. He's up there in terms of the best managers of the league, and you could probably say he's in the top 5, top 10 for best managers in world football. And the one thing with Conte is you need to give him every bit of backing as you can. And we're now, what date is it today? The 17th of January. No one's been signed. All I hear is the same thing, that we're targeting a right wing back, another striker, and a box-to-box midfielder, which is not happening. We're talking about Lingard, but we're talking the Lingard's contract, so it'll be end of the season. Dybala, end of the season. Kessie, end of the season. All these players, Traore, now strong rumors are that we're trying to get him with a loan till the end of the season and then an obligation to buy for 20 million. We don't even have those sort of funds. He wants Steven Bergwijn to stay, but with Ajax offering 15 million, I think another 5 million, that deal will get done, and we'll probably end up getting Traore, which again is stupid because I do think our squad, again, similar to West Ham, is very, very thin bare. And especially with Harry Kane again, there's no one there to. The game that we had against Scunthorpe, it took our big hitters Harry Kane and Lucas Moura to get us out of the shambles, because before then, if I'm honest, we were getting knocked out of the FA Cup quite comfortably by Scunthorpe, who, by the way, have the worst defensive record in League One. So it just kind of shows you that we're lacking major creativity. Conte, the most worrying sign.
Sorry to interrupt you. Because apparently Brentford are going to take Eriksen on a 6-month loan. I don't know if you've heard about this.
Yeah. The problem with Eriksen, though, is I would take him.
Obviously,
he's got the issue with the heart. And look, if you were any club that would take him on, there's always going to be a risk factor, because he's going to have the same thing as Daley Blind, where he's got like a system in his heart to basically keep it going. So
pacer, innit?
Pacer. Yeah, so that's always a risk factor for me. And how many games can you play? Can he play every single game that we have? There's so many unanswered questions. But we're in a situation now where thin bare as it is, you could tell Conte's frustration is getting more and more deeper already. He's told the board that this squad, in French terms, is wank. And Levy is going to Barbados and pitching, new cinemas. And this time a 10,000 feet climbing block on top of the 5,000 one that we already have anyways, for all these PRs. And it's a disgrace. And then I told you earlier the week, we're selling our brightest prospects. We're selling Markande. He's gone. Yeah, for £1 million. For 1 million, who's the top scorer in the under 23s, and you're getting other people ahead of him that shouldn't be getting the opportunities. Honestly, it beggars belief to me how these players are getting opportunities when we have gems in our under 23s that aren't even getting a sniff. I can see this ending very horribly, if I'm honest with you. I can see that the summer will be the big one for Conte, and if he doesn't get what he's asking for, he's going.
I think he's going to walk in summer.
I would not be surprised if he walks, because
if he walked away from Inter Milan, who just won the league.
Well, Alistair Gold, who's a big source for Spurs in particular, has said that Patrici and the board have told Conte that in the summer he will get as much as they can possibly give. But then surely you were told that in January. This is the thing that you guys have all alluded to.
But Kish, that cinema was expensive, though. You got to bear that in mind.
Clash, yeah. But this is what I mean. This is the window where, look, we have games in hand. We're in a position where Man United are not at the race. West Ham are there as an extreme, a shock to the system. Arsenal are there, but they're still building. if you look at every single one of those teams around us, we should be in that top 4 position based on the manager that we actually have and based on the squad, because it should be there or thereabouts. But I mean, for me, I hate this club. Honestly, it's the belief to dare is to do. Honestly, again, pardon my French, piss off. Yeah, it is literally. Honestly, you come out with all these things. The owners are buying cinemas, shit houses, everything that they're buying, and then honestly,
Wait.
That's
kills me.
They're building houses for people to live in. Like,
kills me.
Kish,
Kills me.
Kish, you need to be a
Honestly.
bit more
Hey, fans,
understanding
bro.
to the
Hey, for the
neighbouring
fans.
community, and I think it's
Honestly,
really important that we focus on the
Seriously,
community
this
aspect
this
and
this
building
club,
up
yeah,
the
this
community,
club
the local
mentally,
community. They've now got a cinema.
this
to watch the
club
new
mentally,
Spider-Man.
yeah.
You can't take that away
This
from
club
people.
mentally
Osman.
Priceless
ruined me.
moments.
It's ruined me.
Osman, I can't lie to you, yeah. 2023, come to London, we go see the next Marvel movie in that cinema, innit?
Oh no, I'm thinking let's go this year. Like whatever.
Oh yeah? Let's back it, bro. Let's back it.
Kish's birthday's in October. Kish, don't want to be boxed up.
No, honestly,
We tried to stay around the house.
No.
You got the full range of
Birthday.
experience.
On the real though,
We'll
this
take you to the Skywalk as well, so you can look down in the cinema as well.
no. It's ruining my personal health. This club, man. I'm not even joking. It needs to go in the
Bro,
bin.
if I was you, I would have quit ages ago, man. I've had 8 years of absolute. I might be 10 years now, actually.
Honestly, if Conte walks out of the club, yeah, I'm done with football. That's
cool.
me done.
Just I would say come United, but I can't say that anymore.
No,
Honestly,
if Conte leaves, that's the last straw for me. I'll give up, man. Just
me and Kojo have had 9 years, yeah. 9 years of absolute madness. You've had it your entire life, bro. I don't know how you've done it. I'm not gonna, I don't know how you've done it. Like, shout out to all the top fans that watch this clip, yeah. Shout out to you. You guys are loyal. Because I've had 9 years of pain and suffering as a Man United fan. And I'm telling you, I'm up to here with this absolute shambles. But your manager has spent the budget on a cinema. I mean, you love to see it. I rate it. That at least your fans have got somewhere to socialise after you've not won another trophy, and instead of the pub, you can go to cinema, get popcorn, whatever it may be. Like,
the trophy is the cinema. We talk about Usman. That is the trophy.
We basically sold our top prospect for 2 weeks of Ndombele's wages.
No, but you sold him so you can buy the cinema kit. You got to look at the bigger picture. I'm sick and tired of you narrow-minded Spurs fans.
You're gonna get velvet seats, man.
Community impact, exactly, Kale.
Can I just ask something?
Can we wrap up, please?
I heard the name Tanguy Ndombele, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Has he
You're lawless, Kale.
Is it a Suchek thing? Because really and truly, yeah, can't lie. Certain man looking to duck, after dropping what I call corner shop Pogba performances. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
the stadium, man.
You know what? He just proves what any player has proven in the past in the Premier League. You can have all the gifts and all the talent in the world, but without the work rate, you are simply nothing. And he's proven that, because I can assure you that if he,
I might have to clip that as well. Keep going, I'll clip
honestly, you can't go on about, when people say, I've seen some fans and they're just chatting utter garbage, that the league doesn't suit him. If he was in the Spanish league or Italian league where he gets more time on the ball, that he'd be doing bits. No. He is now being managed by, in my opinion, two of arguably up there in the greatest managers about, right? In Antonio Conte and Mourinho. None of them have been able to get a tune out of him for longer than maybe a game or two. You now got to come to a stage where, as a player, you need to look at yourself and say, look, I'm 23, 24 years of age. Do I really want my career to go by and everyone say what could have been? And at the moment, with Ndombele, that looks like happening, because we've all said on this show in the past that Ndombele is one of those players where, under the right management, under the right fit, he could be an absolute baller. But we've now gone past that. No, the talent, the ability, he has all the ability in the world, but his mindset and mentality stinks. It stinks rotten.
I heard Spurs after one roulette that he's better than Pogba. That's what I heard. So you man, and I also heard Henderson's better than Pogba. These mans never learn, Kojo. But listen, I'm gonna finish it there, because let's wrap it. Let's do all the score pitches and wrap it. I think Kojo is about going on the tangent there. I'm not gonna lie. Regarding Everton, to be honest, you're very irrelevant. I don't think any Everton fans watch this. respectfully. But we'll come back next week when Ollie's been appointed your manager, and we'll discuss it then. So, anyways, fingers crossed. Anyways, or Frank Lampard, one of them two for me personally. But let's quickly go through the predictions. Kish, if you can get someone can get the pictures on.
Brighton v Chelsea.
Who? Sorry.
Brighton v Chelsea.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. Right, Kojo, we'll just go around the clock, but I'll start and Kojo, and then Kojo, you can.
All right, I'm gonna go Brighton 2-1.
Brighton 2. Oh, what the hell? I'm just completely disregarding what you said. Brighton 2-1. Okay. I mean, Cahil, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go 1-1.
Okay, Kish, what do you reckon?
Chelsea 2-1.
I'm gonna say a draw. I went for a Desmond, I think, last night when I did this. So I'm gonna stick to my Desmond and I say 2-2. So I believe, it's Spurs v Leicester, right?
Yeah, correct.
Kojo, what do you reckon?
Wait, supposed to be Leicester. You know what? No, I'll go Spurs 1-0.
Ooh, Cahil, what do you reckon?
Match postponed.
No, if this match is postponed, right, I'm gonna fight these FPL mother lovers because I literally brought in 2 Leicester players and 2 Spurs players to get shafted. But okay, no, that's accurate. Kish, what do you reckon?
2-1 Leicester.
2-1 Leicester. Oh wait, you're a Spurs fan. Okay, never. Right. I'm gonna say 3-2 Leicester. I'm hoping that I'll get goals. Need to get those points up in it. Next one, which is a big one, Arsenal v Liverpool in the Cup second leg, Emirates settings. Kojo, what do you reckon?
Whoa! You missed the big one. Brentford v Man United.
I fully erased my name.
Wait, when are we playing Brentford?
Wednesday.
Oh, joke thing. I didn't even know. Right, cool.
You know what? I fully erased this from. Oh my god! I did the minute back.
What time is kickoff?
8 o'clock.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna go and watch my boys play football at 8 o'clock. But
anyway.
yeah,
I knew. Because sorry. What do you reckon, Man U Brentford? Remember, Mike Tomlin is definitely starting this game. I'm probably Fred, so it's better.
Nah, you know, Man United gonna steal a win, man. It's one of them ones. I'll go 2-1 Man United.
All right, Kiel, what do you reckon?
Yeah, Brentford aren't playing well at all this time around. So 2-0 United. All
right, Kish, what do you reckon?
I'm gonna go for 3-1 United.
I will happily take that. I'm gonna just say 2-0 United. I don't have any confidence, but it is what it is. Right, okay. Anyways, big one. Kojo, the cup, the semi-final. Who is making it to the final to play Chelsea? What do you reckon?
Apparently Arsenal have no midfield now. So I
would love it. Arsenal get that game suspended. I would love it.
Boy, wow.
That'd be class.
You can't ask for too much too soon. You gotta play it smart. You gotta play it smart, man.
Exactly.
Now, to be honest, I think Arsenal will actually sneak this one. I'm gonna go 1-0 Arsenal.
Oof, that would be unbelievable. I mean, I would love it. Cale, what do you reckon?
It's gonna be I think it's gonna be a high-scoring game, so I'll go 3-2 Arsenal.
3-2. Okay, Kish, what do you reckon?
I want to go 1-1, and then I want to go for Liverpool on pens.
Oh, that's very specific. I really like that, Kish. It's a bit hard to call. I'm gonna say only because of Arsenal's midfield, I think Liverpool would just edge it. But I think it's gonna be tight. I think it's gonna be a 1-0. So Liverpool, someone like Minamino or Jota. Jota's not scored in a while. He's due a goal, so I'll just say Jota 1-0. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. I would get 10%, so let's speed it up a bit.
3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. Man United at home against West Ham.
Oh yeah, that is a good game.
Who's your Kojo?
Kojo, what do you reckon?
You know, I was supporting my life, man.
Man's blue kit on the side, ready, man.
Imagine. I'll do half and half. I'll do a half and half shirt.
Yeah, half and half scarf as well.
2-0 Man United.
Oh wow, okay, I was not expecting that. Cale, what do you reckon?
2-1 United.
Which one?
Oh fuck! There's only one. You know what United I'm talking
about.
Okay,
yeah, we understand. Newcastle. Kish, what do you reckon?
2-2.
Kish?
2-2.
Oh, okay. I thought he just disconnected then. Fucking I'm not confident at all. I'm just saying on hope. 1-0 Man United. I mean, I don't know how we're going to keep Kish actually. 2-1, never ignore that. 2-1 Man United. What are the games on the Kish?
Palace at home against Liverpool. Palace are Liverpool's bogey team.
I've got this down as a draw actually. I've gone 2-2. Kojo, what do you reckon?
You know what? Palace are.
Uncle Pat is killing it, man. He deserves more flowers.
Yeah, Patrick Evans is doing a wonderful job, man.
Alisi, Eze, and Dingy up front. Ooh.
I was thinking Liverpool are toothless up top right now, so they might take advantage of this. I'm gonna go Palace 2-1. Yeah, Palace 2-1. I'll stick with that.
Okay, Kale, what do you reckon?
Liverpool sneak it 1-0.
Yeah, it's hard to call this one because you don't know what to expect with Liverpool. Kish, what do you reckon?
Yeah, 1-0 Liverpool, I think, just.
All right, no worries. On to Chelsea Spurs, right?
Well, there is. I mean, this will be funny. This will be interesting, actually. It's Arsenal against Burnley.
Is that going to be called off as well?
I mean, it could be, but it's a week.
Let me just tell you right now. If that game goes ahead, Arsenal are winning 3-0 clean.
100%. Arsenal got to slap them, surely. Kale, what do you reckon?
Yeah. Fuck it, 5-0.
Oh, fair enough. Kish, what do you reckon?
I'm going to go for 1-0 Burnley.
Oh, sure, Dash MC. I'm going to say 4-0 Arsenal. Burnley surely haven't got any players, otherwise why they get rid of all these players. But Kish, last one, as we said, Chelsea. Spurs. Forget Man City, man. No one cares about them in Southampton. It's going to be 7-0. Kojo, what do you reckon? Man City, Chelsea, Spurs.
Chelsea at home Spurs.
Yeah. Who's at home, Kish? I didn't check.
Chelsea, innit?
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
Sorry. Stamford Bridge is peak for you still. So, 3-1 Chelsea.
Kale, what do you reckon?
1-1.
Ooh, that would be a brilliant result for all of us guys. Kish, what do you reckon?
2-0 Chelsea.
Okay, I've gone 2-1 Chelsea. I don't think Spurs ever beaten them at Stamford Bridge, from what I can recall anyways. But listen, that does finish off the show. Just want to say a massive thank you to our panel as always. Make sure if you haven't already, slap a like, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back tomorrow with the Main Night podcast, not decided the time, probably 7 o'clock, which is when I will delve into the mess that is Man United. And obviously, Rannick has got his press conference, so probably react to that as well. But listen, as always, please continue to support the homies. Everyone's socials is down below in the description. I'm going to pass it up to Kojo. Shout out your thing, let the people know where they can find you guys.
Yeah, Free Midfield Podcast on YouTube, Free Midfield on all the audios, that is Spotify, SoundCloud, podcast, and Free Midfield on the socials, Twitter, Instagram.
Can't they find you on TalkSport as well?
I'm getting there, bro. I'm getting there. We're loading up. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Free Midfield also on all the socials, your Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch. And of course, you can find us on TalkSport.
Yes. Listen, boys, I'm telling you right now, you need to get your stocks in for your midfield because they're big time. You're too late.
Coming true.
You'd love to see it. Kiss, let the man them know where they can find you, my brother.
Yeah, all on below at Kishundu on Instagram and Twitter. And let's get us, man, to 1.3K. We're very, very close. So if you could like, share, subscribe, retweet, anything and everything that you guys can do would be a massive help. So yeah, if you could do that, would be great.
Yes. Thank you as always, Kish. Thank you to the panel. As always, if you're watching a repeat, get your comments in down below. As I said, all of our socials are down below. I've started to upload on Instagram and TikTok. I know it's mad, but I started to upload on both of them socials as well. So feel free to follow me on there. Osman talks tonight. But apart from that, it's been your boy Osman. Back tomorrow, 7 o'clock.